This session has started. It is being recorded. Thank you all for joining. My name is Vangelis Logothetis from Insights Consulting. We are responsible for the dissemination and communication of the project Palantir. It's an H2020 Innovation Action Project. In general, the purpose of this event is we want to get in touch with SMEs. This is one of the goals of our project, in order to discuss the cybersecurity landscape and also the needs. What are the needs of the SMEs in today's cybersecurity landscape? We want to understand how they approach cybersecurity and explain to SMEs what our project is doing in that regard in order to help and establish good cybersecurity practices and shield themselves from the threats that exist in the world. So we're going to also showcase our goals and achievements so far and some of the benefits and what we're trying to do in this project. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. George Athanasio, who's going to present the project, some high-level information about the project, but also as well the agenda and what we're going to discuss in more detail today. George, we can't hear you. I think you are muted.
Thank you very much, Vangeli. Can you hear me now?
Yes, clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is George Athanasio. I represent DBC. I have the pleasure to be the project coordinator of Palantir. I would like to welcome all the participants to this public webinar. I really hope that we will have the chance to interact and present you our developments in this project. I kindly ask all of you to have your microphone deactivated, and of course, if you would like to ask a question or to make a comment, just raise your hand, and we will be happy to interact. I will start with an introduction. I will briefly go through the agenda of today's session. So we will have an introduction of the project, a very short introduction of the project, and then we will go to the key innovations and the cybersecurity landscape. We have different sessions here, presenting all the most important, let's say, components that we develop in Palantir. A general presentation of the use cases defined in Palantir project will follow. And then maybe the most interesting, let's say, session will be the benefits for SMEs, where we will have the chance to present you the use cases, a more hands-on experience for all the SMEs, the people from SMEs attending this webinar. And we will finish our presentations with a showcase of the platform that we are developing. And we will have a slot at the end of today's meeting, where we will be happy to respond to your questions. Some key facts and figures about the project. Palantir is a European R&D project, is an innovation action. It is co-funded by the European Commission under the H2020 Secure Societies program. 17 partners are on board, forming a very good consortium. The total budget is 5.3 million euros, and the duration of the project is 36 months, starting from September 2020. So we are in the last, let's say, year of the project, and we have, let's say, mature results to present to you. Here you can see the coverage and the number of partners, 17 partners from 9 countries. We have the pleasure to work in a very complementary consortium. We have representatives from research, from academia, of course, really and dynamic SMEs in the domain, and we have representatives from industry, from different countries. Basic motivation for our work here. Why SMEs do need cybersecurity measures? Do they have to worry? We have seen that 47% of SMEs had experienced at least one cyber attack in a single year, and more than 44% experience more attacks. So this is something really crucial. And in terms of cost of cyber attacks, the average cost of a data breach rose from 4.9 million in 17 to 7.5 million in 18. So you can see this huge increase of the cost that the cyber attack can cause. And most importantly, SMEs are being viewed as a softer target by criminals or attackers, let's say. And this is often a route to a bigger prize, to approach bigger companies and larger organizations. And they are doing this because it is harder to penetrate directly to them. So this is a fact, and this is happening every day. So in Palantir, the main objectives that we have is to provide SMEs and micro enterprises with a practical framework to assess and manage cybersecurity risks and define their cybersecurity needs. Basic part of this framework is to provide affordable managed security services in multiple delivery modes and provide novel hybrid incident detection with live threat intelligence sharing. And of course, we need to ensure under this umbrella the financial sustainability of Palantir cyber defense while disrupting the economic benefits of the attacker, which is actually really important to guarantee. In terms of stakeholders, in Palantir, we envision a value chain among different stakeholders, as you will see here. And the idea is to create a sustainable ecosystem of services. In this set of stakeholders, we envision developers or let's say service developers that can build and monetize their services through the catalog that will be designed and developed within the project. We have Palantir providers deploy and maintain the Palantir ecosystem. We have clients, which are the actual SMEs and micro enterprises that purchase security as a service, security services from the providers, and of course GDPR data subjects, which are employees and customers of the SMEs and micro enterprises protected. So in this value chain, we would like to apply our framework and provide all the benefits that this framework can have. This is the last slide. Before going to more technical details, I will just want to present you a high-level overview of the concept. In this concept, in this idea that we had when we were preparing the proposal for the project, and now we are developing all those components, we envisioned a risk-based analysis framework that will allow the quantification of security and privacy threats based on impact assessment and its correlation with attack surface analysis. This is the first component. Then, of course, threat intelligence framework that will provide protection by the application of machine learning. The machine learning will pick up traffic anomalies indicating unknown threats in the network, which is, let's say, one of the most novel parts of our solution. Then the remediation and the recommendation module that will create intelligible suggestions to address those security threats that have been detected or prognosed. Then the trust and attestation framework that periodically attest the infrastructure components for signs of compromise. It provides integrity checks and sends notification in case of a breach or in case of a fault. And the security service orchestration framework that deals with instantiation of and configuration and management of the different security services described before. So at the end, the completion of this concept is the Palantir Portal, where we will have different dashboards, the accounting dashboard that will provide the account management per user role, and we will have the different other dashboards where cybersecurity alerts, status of running services, etc., are tracked and are visualized in the security dashboard. Using this dashboard, the different, administrators, management, people in the organization can activate and see the status of their infrastructure. With this slide, I would like to conclude this first introductory part. My proposal is that we continue with the next slots that will be, let's say, more interesting for the consortium, for the attendants. And of course, if there are questions, we will be happy to respond to you. I think, Andoni, you have the floor.
So, hello, it is Dimitris. Let me share the screen. Are you able to see my screen sharing?
Yes, we are.
Excellent. So, hello all. I am Dimitris Giagos, a research engineer from Infield Technologies, and I will introduce you to the cyber threat landscape and the high-level architecture that characterizes the Palantir project. Before moving on to the technical aspects, I will try to give you a glimpse on the reasons that would justify the existence of an SME-oriented cybersecurity platform. So, it is no secret that cyber attacks are growing not only in numbers, but in ferocity as well. As this chart depicts, the number of events occurring is constantly growing on a yearly basis. And of course, the pandemic situation has not helped much, as businesses of all sizes have shifted a great portion of their workforce to full-time work from home, and so the possible attack surfaces are also increasing. But more importantly, the distribution of cyber attack targets has started shifting from larger enterprises to SMEs. That can be partially attributed to the fact that SMEs are considered a softer target by criminals, as stated before, who prefer attacking a larger organization indirectly via an SME rather than penetrating directly. So, what is Palantir's main goal? The Palantir goal is to offer a services ecosystem to SMEs, each of which has varied cybersecurity needs and limited resources. Palantir accomplishes its goals by building on risk assessment, virtualization, multimodal machine learning, and remote attestation to create highly dynamic and flexible cybersecurity services that run on a primarily secure and attested network. So, the Palantir solution contributes to the cybersecurity field with innovative approaches and tools. These tools are a risk assessment framework, dynamically deployed security capabilities, a hybrid threat intelligence framework, and a security service orchestrator. In general, we aim to provide a practical toolkit for assessing and managing cybersecurity risks and services, and provide novel incident detection based on hybrid approaches. Since the Palantir project is geared towards the protection of SMEs, it is going to benefit them by offering easily accessible, low-cost services that are tailor-made for their special needs. Moving on to the technical part, this is a slightly more complex slide that depicts the latest version of the Palantir's high-level design. All aforementioned frameworks are also shown here in greater detail. As you can see, there is a blue horizontal line that separates the logic plane from the data plane. The logic plane contains the Palantir building blocks, and the data plane is where the traffic is collected using distributed collectors. What is important to understand here is the placement of the different components with regard to the different actors. In a nutshell, we get to see the list of all Palantir's offered services that include security capabilities orchestration, trust attestation recovery, risk analysis framework, threat intelligence, service matching, a billing framework, and finally the Palantir Portal. All these components are designed and implemented with high-end, state-of-the-art systems and frameworks, such as Kubernetes, Apache Kafka, TensorFlow, and more, that make the cybersecurity for SMEs highly scalable and efficient. That is all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And yeah.
Thank you, George and Dimitris. This was an initial presentation of what Palantir is about. I think those two presentations painted a good picture of the high-level elements of Palantir. Are there any questions regarding these two initial presentations, or if not, we can move on with the next part of the agenda, where we will be discussing in the three next presentations in more detail the components of Palantir and what are the innovations that they are bringing to the table, as well as the benefits that are associated with the SMEs. So no questions, it seems, at this point. So let's move with Manuel and the secure service ecosystem for SMEs and MEs.
Okay, thank you, Angeli. I suppose that you can hear me fine, and also to see, the presentation.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you, Angeli. So in this case, I'm Manuel Gil Perez from the University of Murcia in Spain, and as commented, I'm going to present the security services. One of the key elements that we have in the project in order to protect the SMEs and also the micro enterprises. For that, this is a short summarize about the different contributions that we have to the project objective. So starting sure with the security services, that is one of the key elements. So that with that, in order to monitor and also to react against the different cyber threats and also attacks that we can detect there in the SME or the micro enterprise. So this is the services that we need to maintain in a catalog in order to put there all the packages, all the reliable packages in order to be provisioned later by orchestrator. This orchestrator is able in order to deploy and also to configure and reconfigure the different security services in real time, all deployed there in a virtualized infrastructure. So last but not least, so also the risk assessment element that we need in order to measure the different levels of risk that we can have there in the infrastructure and in the services, and not only that, but also the people that is operating there, that is working in the enterprise. So all together, we need to know exactly which is the risks, depending on the vulnerabilities that we have and so on, in order to deploy different security services in real time, and not only to reconfigure the services, so to move forward a new security services that we need to deploy. So for that, taking into account the different elements, we are going to excuse here each of them. So starting from the security services, in this case, so it's providing different security capabilities depending on the requirements that we have there in the SMEs or the micro enterprise. So the final objective is to monitor all the different features of the different network traffic that we have in the network, also the logs there in the different hosts and so on, in order to detect later if we are receiving some kind of cyber threat, cyber attack, and later to react against them. So in order to detect the ransomware, the DDoS, all the different cyber attacks that we can imagine right now. So for that, one of the added value that we have is to extend the current solution to a container-based schemas. For example, by using Docker, Kubernetes, and so on. So with that, the SMEs, enterprise, can protect the different services that have their deployed in their premises. So in this case, the next one is the orchestration. So with this, we need to provide a life cycle management of all the different security capabilities of the different security as a services in order to deploy, to configure and reconfigure the different instances. With this, we are going to extend the current solution that we can have in the market by including the extraction of different metrics in real time. So in order to know exactly which is the proper operation of the different SecaaS instances, in order to know if they are working fine or not, and we need maybe to move them or to eliminate one in order to reconfigure them and also to start a new security capability. With this, the benefits to the SMEs, so we are supporting, our idea is to support multiple deployment modes. From a cloud perspective, also from the edge, and also a lightweight-based deployment model, depending on the level of way of protecting the different services. So another element really important here in the project is the risks-based vulnerability management element that we did. We are going to propose, is the main innovation here, to propose the deployment of other or new security solution depending on the risks that we are having in our system, in our network, in our people operating there, and so on. So with this, we are going to adapt the security services deployed in our system depending on the assets and also the risks that we have calculated in the network. So we can also put into operation different recommendations depending also of the cost and the benefits that the SME can have when deploying different security services. So this is another key innovation provided by the risks element. So, and finally, so is also the catalog. So in this case, a way of maintaining a reliable, SecaaS images there. So including not only the BNF, the virtual network function, but also the containerized network function. So we are going to put maintain there, but not only to keep there all the information, but also to protect them in order to be really stable there, and also to have the opportunity to share all the different elements there. And so it's another key element that we have here in the project, because the different packages, the different security capabilities are going to be extracted from here in order to be deployed, in order to be analyzed, and so on. This is another innovation that we are proposing here. So that is all from the security services. I pass the token. I don't know if you have any question, doubt. Or in any case, we can continue with the next presentation, and at the end we can open the question. No?
So yeah, if there are no more questions, I think we can proceed to the threat management and sharing aspect to be presented by Maxime Compastier.
Yes, let me share my screen first. Okay, now you should be able to see my screen right away. So, good afternoon. I am Maxime Compassier, Senior Researcher at Athanasio Foundation, and today I will discuss with you the different innovation brought by the threat management and sharing in Palantir framework. Before moving forward, I guess we should take some step back to define what we are hearing, understanding via threat management and threat sharing. In Palantir, the threat management is the conduction of any mitigation action, countermeasure, that permit to mitigate any threat occurrence that are affecting both customer assets and the Palantir platform itself. And for this, we are relying on procedure and techniques that can actively involve the operator or through decision-making process, or can work autonomously. And for this, we are accounting for the automatic selection, automatic and pertinent selection of relevant security features enablers with the service level agreement negotiated with the customers, and also via the notification and the reaction to the detection of data breach occurrence. This concept is further extended via the threat sharing. What this means is that we propose to Palantir customers to collaborate with each other to provide and share threat intelligence among themselves to cope proactively with emerging threats. How? Via a high-level threat information that can be locally interpreted to Palantir, to the customer infrastructure, while the different modalities of the exchange of this threat intelligence is kept under the custody, under the control of either the Palantir provider or via the customer itself. I will present now the different innovations brought by Palantir. The first one being the active userness awareness. How? With a dedicated cybersecurity dashboard that can expose the current stance of the current security posture of SMEs asset, and that offers the right enablers, the right actuators to mitigate the incident. We are providing an accounting dashboard to proceed with the financial follow-up for both the customer in terms of cybersecurity expense, but also for the security capabilities developer that can gain revenues from their work with Palantir. The last contribution relates to the threat sharing by enabling the different customers to share this cyber threat intelligence if they desire so. Our added value here is another user interface that can cope with different kind of profile of users. An evolution, a follow-up of the cost of the protection while keeping in mind the security benefits of the Palantir protection, and the generation and the control of cyber threat intelligence feeds. In practice, for SMEs, this means that this solution is quite accessible. We propose also either for actors to manage their own Palantir instance or to delegate this to a third party, just like in the managed security service provider business model. A tight financial control over the Palantir exploitation on the monitoring of the revenue creation, and the anticipation of a threat occurrence. The second innovation here is about the remediation, the execution of the remediation procedure. Actually, Palantir permit to respond to incidents happening against SMEs assets via the execution of remediation playbook. We are also covering the reaction to fault occurring in security enablers by detecting their potential malfunction via the fault-based management. Our added value here is that we are able to cope with multifaceted threats on more complex threat scenarios. We also ensure the consistency of the remediation procedure via a design of remediation procedure based on finite state machine. And this also brings benefits in terms of scalability for that kind of procedure. This means for the SME that there is a strong resilience of the cyber protection provided by Palantir and they are also featuring the resistance against coordinated cyber attacks campaigns. The third innovation is the cost-aware security enabler selection. In fact, one of the key features of Palantir is a service matching selection to select adequate security enablers based on the security requirements in the threat context of an SME customer, its local constraints for deployment, while also being aware to minimize and optimize the operational expenditure. And to assess this cost optimization, there is a billing framework that permits the financial follow-up for the SME owner, and from the other side for the security capability developer. Here, this project delivers adequate billing models that are suited to the security as a service paradigm featured in Palantir. We are able to tighten the SecaaS offering to the customer environment via adequate delivery model. We also optimize the cost in the selection of the different enablers, and we are also protecting the SME's owner via service legal agreement support. This means for SMEs that they are protected via SLAs. We are providing adapted protection to their needs, and while maintaining the expenditure contained. The last innovation relates to the self-protection of the security enablers via an attestation engine permitting remote attestation in a pervasive way. Meaning, specifically, we have developed new methods and techniques to pervasively evaluate the integrity of the security enablers from the application layer to the hardware itself. And this permits the self-protection of the platform against threats attempting the subduction of Palantir platform itself. This means for us an increased trust in Palantir solution from a SME standpoint, and also a specific protection against threat vector seeking to weaponize the Palantir platform itself against their customer. And this is all for this activity. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I guess we will be able to discuss this afterward. I will now leave the floor to Dr. Davide Savintu from NEC Laboratory.
Thanks, Maxime. Let me share the screen in the middle. Okay, I guess you can hear me and also see the presentation. So my name is Davide Savintu. I am a research scientist in LEC Laboratories Europe, and I'm the work package leader of the Habitat Intelligence component. I will now briefly describe the main innovation brought by this component and the benefits for the SMEs. So first of all, the objective of the Habitat Intelligence component in Palantir is to deliver a set of tools and techniques to apply machine learning and deep learning solutions to detect and mitigate cybersecurity threats. Specifically, this component provides an analytics framework for to collect data from multiple heterogeneous sources. And starting from the collected data, it runs a set of methods to detect abnormal behaviors in terms of anomalies in the data. The detected anomalies are then classified as a specific types of cybersecurity threats. Finally, starting from the detected threats, the framework is able to automatically generate recommendations for a remediation able to address the specific type of threat in the current network landscape. The first innovation brought by this component is related to the scalable data processing. The Habitat Intelligence provides a distributed collection and data preprocessing component, which implements a scalable data ingestion and preprocessing pipeline. This pipeline supports heterogeneous sources of data, for example, network traffic or logs, system logs from hosts. by adopting a distributed approach for the collection of the data. The data can be quickly ingested, achieving real-time data processing and at the same time scalability. As a benefit for SMEs, this component reduces the operational costs for the provider. At the same time, it enables more cost-effective solutions. The second innovation brought by this component is related to the hybrid threat detection. So this component introduces into Palantir platform a couple of additional components. The first one, which is the multimodal anomaly detection, is in charge of detecting abnormal behaviors by considering multiple data modalities at the same time. Specifically, it considers network traffic in the forms of net flow and also system logs data. The second component is instead the threat classification and alert management, which is in charge of classifying the detected anomalies as a specific type of threats by providing a label for these anomalies. And in terms of added values, the first one is the combination of signature-based approaches with the one based on state-of-the-art machine learning algorithms. And the second component also fits the data to the threat management and sharing component presented just before in order to share intelligence information. The main benefit for this component is to provide a hybrid cybersecurity solution, which is able to complement approaches which are rule-based with behavioral-based approaches. And in the end, they are able to offer an increased level of security by detecting complex type of threats. As a last innovation brought by the Habitat Intelligence, we have the automatic generation of the remediation. So the last component brought by the Habitat Intelligence is the introduction of a recommendation and remediation component, whose main objective is the recommendation of mitigation actions, which are able to address the detected security threats. These remediation are also deployable because they are tailored to the specific network landscape and also to the set of available security capabilities. So the first added value is then the ability to extract high-level policies, which are able to address the identified threats after the direct classification, and also the ability to automatically deploy these remediation actions. So in summary, this component is able to provide an active response to the cybersecurity threats with a reduced response time for the detected threats. So this is the end of my presentation. Thanks for the attention. If you have some questions, we can discuss at the end of the presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, David. So with this presentation, we are concluding, let's say, the first segment of this webinar. We have discussed the general picture of Palantir, but also dived into some more details and innovations that are being developed, the service ecosystem, the threat management sharing, and the hybrid threat intelligence. A common denominator here is an effort to try to bring advanced cybersecurity, but with a certain ease for our end users in order for them to be able to utilize these services at low costs and also without having the need to be some sort of expert on technology or cybersecurity. This is a big overarching goal for Palantir. Are there any questions related to these first presentations that we had? If not, then I think we can proceed with the next two segments, which I believe will have a continuous flow with the use case presentations and a discussion on the advantages for SMEs that we're hoping to bring with these use cases. So we're going to have a general presentation from George Xylouris, and then 3 individual use cases, a private medical practitioner, an e-commerce scenario, and the live threat intelligence sharing in large edge scenario. So, George, please go ahead.
Hello, thank you very much. So hello, everybody. My name is George Xylouris. I'm representing here Orion Innovations, who is leading the work package related to the implementation and the coordination of the activities related to the use cases for Palantir. So, as you have seen, there are many innovations being presented, and that we would like to try to fit most of them in our demonstrations regarding the 3 use cases that we, as a project, have defined. The first one is a use case focusing on securing of a private medical practices with a lightweight security as a service topology. And the specific focus of this use case would be the lightweight SecaaS and how that would be implemented for a very small business and protected from breaches and ransomware attacks. We have the second use case, an uninterrupted e-commerce with cloud security as a service deployment. So in this scenario, we have pilots revolving around secure electronic commerce with a typical retail and service-oriented micro enterprise that also maintains an eShop. And I think that this use case will be explored by my other colleagues later on. And use case 3, the live threat intelligence sharing in a large-scale edge scenario, where we actually we will demonstrate the threat sharing scenario between a CSRD testbed of 5 Genesis and also 5 Tonic that is resided in Telefonica. And we will use a specific attack that will be recognized by one of the 2 testbed and be communicated to the other one. So I would like to first put some light on what the Palantir use cases will demonstrate. So we will focus on trying to highlight the operation and benefits of using the Palantir framework in 3 demonstrations, but using different Palantir deployment models. So as said, for the first one, we will use a lightweight SecaaS deployment. That means that we anticipate that at the location we will be able to deploy a specific, let's say, Palantir box that will be able to run and execute the various Palantir security capabilities that are destined for each scenario. The second is a cloud-based deployment, where we will use a cloud-based Palantir deployment in order to address the cyber health for this e-commerce scenario. And finally, we have a full in-premise deployment, which is the one that we will use for the threat intelligence sharing between 2 telco operators, as the scenario defines. So in order to be able to demonstrate this, we need to mention also the cyber threat focus that we have for each use case. So we have early in the project, we had a bit more, let's say, extensive list. But now, as the project moves on and we reach to some specific decisions regarding what are the scenarios that make sense or provide an added value. So for the single practitioner, we the short list of the attacks focuses on sensitive data leakage and ransomware attacks that where small SMEs or medical or practitioners are usually sensitive and very prone to suffer from this kind of attacks. For the second use case, Again, we have the ransomware, but we also anticipate cross-site scripting, SQL injection, since we have eShop and we have databases that can be affected by this type of scenarios. And of course, malware and DDoS attacks, which are also attacks that also affect this kind of environments and prevent them, prevent the affected entities from running their business and are a cause of serious loss of services. And finally, for use case 3, again, we have defined 3 different attacks: a denial of service attack happening at specific points in the network of the telco. We have a ransomware attack that affects possibly parts of information that are held by the operator and are very could become, let's say, a reason for asking ransom in exchange, and of course, crypto mining type of attack. So, summing up, the Palantir benefits to be demonstrated, first of all, is to explore how the Palantir constitutes a practical framework to assess and manage cybersecurity risks, and out of this process, define cybersecurity needs for the various SMEs that would like to explore Palantir for solving their cybersecurity issues. Secondly, to provide an affordable managed security services in multiple delivery modes. So regarding the needs of an SME and the topology of their infrastructure and the requirements that exist there, we could provide different delivery modes of same services, okay, take into account the complexity or the experience of the SMEs while doing that. And finally, one of the last benefits is the novel hybrid incident detection with live threat intelligence sharing, which will be inherently supported across the framework and could be useful not only for big telcos, but could be useful as a dissemination between all the customers of Palantir framework. So, moving on, and then if you like, after I finish use case 1, you can ask me more questions about it. So we have the practical autonomous cyber health for resilient micro, small, medium, the use case 1 for securing medical practices with lightweight SecaaS. And it's a use case that we've been working in our company. The scenario actually implements a lightweight SecaaS for the protection of a simple medical practitioner, and we will try to safeguard the patient data that are held within the servers database, the databases that are exist in the medical office. They are used by the doctors to keep those private medical data there, and also be able to run prescription services and ordering new exams and used by, let's say, in the life cycle of a medical practitioner. And we will anticipate the data leakage scenario that will be developed where the attacker will try to have access on those data, and we'll try to detect this data leakage and stop it before the data escape the let's say the office network. And of course, we have the ransomware part, where parts of the medical archive that exists in the database could be encrypted by the attacker, and of course ask for ransoms in exchange of decrypting the database. So that's the second part of the attack. And regarding the topology, as you can see, we anticipate a simple, let's say, approach of having a medical office, having access to the internet in the way most of the time using a modem, a DSL connection, an optical, regardless of the connection there. We will put in the line a Palantir box that has the capabilities for running security services on top of it, using a lightweight profile hardware and be, let's say, seamlessly integrated into the medical office topology. And on top of that, we will have some connection with some connection with the Palantir platform for access of the user to a dashboard, for ordering services and accept notifications from the Palantir platform for incidents and various other, let's say, notification that Palantir generates. Regarding the use case one, motivation and goal. So the first one is that use case applies to a micro or smaller SMEs specifically. Due to the needs of those smaller SMEs and to the lack of expertise, we offer as Palantir protection and also consulting on the type of services that need to run on this kind of establishment. We use a Palantir box that is able to handle the execution of these scenarios of these services, and is installed on premise. We can support both pumping the wire or inline deployment regarding the capabilities, but the most prominent one would be the inline deployment. And we support a simplified configuration, considering the limited expertise of usually those end users have. And of course, we support exchange of information with the Palantir platform that runs in the cloud and that provides additional processing if needed, and if you need additional capabilities, and of course, a library with additional security tools that are available for to be executed and transferred and executed at in premises. The goal is to deliver a cybersecurity solution that will consult the end user for the proper SecaaS setup and seamlessly be integrated on premises, providing monitoring, alerting, mitigation against cyber attacks. Okay, so since my part, at least the use case one part is done, I don't know if you have any questions. Else, I will pass the floor to my colleague Isidro Miakar for discussing use case two specifics.
I see we have a raised hand. Yes, please, Kostas, go ahead.
May I ask regarding the mitigation measures, and as you have shown at the picture, it's not in line, and as everything said till now, you are actually in parallel. You are taking traffic. You're not in line. You're not a proxy.
Sorry.
In the application that you have shown, you are actually in parallel. And I would like to ask how you mitigate all the attacks and everything in real time. Can you please describe?
Okay, yes, I'm just sharing the screen again, just to give you a note on that. Okay. So here in these scenarios for ransomware, and also it's the setup is mostly for the ransomware attack and also for the data leakage attack. So as you can see, in fact, the Palantir box, it's in line, so it's in the path towards the internet. So we anticipate that the detection can occur at that point, okay, and be stopped. So the other thing is that depending on the security capabilities, which is not shown here, that we realize there, we also consume some local logs and network traffic from the router that you see here, either in the form of NetFlow or either in the form of actual logs from system D that arrive to the Palantir box or from the servers running the databases. So in fact, the detection occurs on the Palantir box and stops any, let's say, attacks that actually propagate towards the internet valuable information for this. Okay, and on the same time, the Palantir box has the capability to actually, control this router right here in order to stop, after the identification, to stop traffic or anything that is actually happening from a local attacker that is on the guest Wi-Fi at this location. Okay. The other approach, would be to, of course, either let's say replace part of the equipment that is available for the medical practitioner, and with the Palantir box with additional, let's say, functionalities in order to be able to handle probably a bigger, let's say, a larger number of possible attacks on the scenario, or anticipate that the equipment there has the capability to mirror traffic towards our Palantir box in order to have this, let's say, the bump in the wire approach that will cover more cases of security attacks. I don't know if that covered my answer covered your question.
If the attacker has a GSM modem and actually you cut the one path, you can send the other way. Also, there is another thing regarding the network traffic, that you are responsible and the data controller for the GDPR now, because you install the box in line and you actually take the traffic. This is a second thing. So you are the target now. You simply switch sides.
Well,
as I see it. So let's continue. I have more questions. I will tell it. We'll talk about at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So let's proceed to use case 2, I guess. So a kind request, if possible, to speed up a little bit because we're kind of running out of time.
Hey, it's Isidore for use case 2 from Sphera. Can you see my screen? The presentation is online, right? Okay, perfect. So I will represent use case 2, which is basically oriented towards a bit more complex SMEs than a single office SMEs, which, well, more towards small and medium-sized enterprises, especially those that deal with cloud services directly integrated as part of their business. So I will just repeat some of the facts that were already mentioned. Now, over 55% of SMEs lack in holistic, up-to-date cyber strategy. We know that from fact. Commercial solutions are very fragmented among various sectors. And for a holistic approach, of course, you need multiple expertise to design, develop, deploy, and maintain it, which, of course, is significantly cost ineffective for most SMEs. Because they lack the expert knowledge and capital, they usually try to somehow protect their businesses with a metaphorical shield. For instance, a simple firewall or a simple antivirus program that can detect an attack, maybe. However, significantly lacking any kind of incident response. Maybe just the only one that usually we do is block the ports, or block the network connection completely. IT support is in such small and medium enterprises is often seen as a cost-centric. So basically, what you do is you try to focus on IT continuity rather than protection and defense of infrastructure. So these are the outlines that we foresee and foresaw while preparing this use case for Project Palantir. So what Palantir offers is a holistic cybersecurity solution for micro enterprises. How, you would ask? First, it offers sort of a risk assessment framework. What we do in practice, we go to our customers, analyze their infrastructure, ask them to answer questions. Well, Palantir actually will offer a sort of a service which could somehow automatically detect what are the main issues foreseen for specific business and what services or policies we offer as a security as a service, or what policies have to be changed within the company itself, or at least recommendations. Then we have the trust and attestation framework already presented in one of the previous presentations. Basically, to us, it offers a cost-efficient and personalized security solution as a service, again, with periodic attestation and integrity verification. So the other problem with SMEs is usually they don't have the staff to do things and check things periodically. Even a simple PHP update or web server update is usually a problem. Then we have a security orchestrator, basically that seamlessly deals with more or less automation, configuration, management, and deployment, and compensates for the lack of IT expertise. Then we have threat intelligence, which is able to, with using also the threat sharing component or aspect of Palantir, to somehow mitigate even new threats. So another problem with lack of knowledge and expertise is to be up to date. What are the actual threats at the moment? And this is what it solves. And finally, as one of the innovations of Palantir, we offer a remediation engine, basically an engine that is capable to minimize the response times and deliver the responses aligned with wishes or expectations of SMEs. As I said in the beginning, sometimes it is okay to cut off the service, whereas in other cases, if your business depends on the service, you could react or should react in a different way, but really it depends on the business. So what we aim with our testbed. So here you have a simple, or well, not so simple, but yeah, a realistic testbed that will be deployed in Palantir. It is actually a replica of an SME that deals with e-commerce. So we want to protect with this use case or showcase how to protect a retail-oriented SME against modern cybersecurity threats, which mentioned by George include malware, phishing and ransomware, DDoS attacks, exploits and injection, and of course, cross-site scripting. So what we foresee in such a business, we have a cloud space where this business actually does its business, the core of its business on the cloud. And then you have multiple offices where some computers, usually, of course, keep in mind, we always, in SMEs and micro enterprises, we usually have this bring your own device to work policy, because again, there are limited availability of funds. So sometimes it's easier, since we only have to connect to the internet, log in to some server, and we can do our business with our devices. So this is a major risk for all SMEs, and that's why we foresee that we need to deploy something to protect the cloud space, the services and the data there. And we propose to do this using a SecaaS deployment model. It will be security as a service. It will be primarily cloud-based. However, some services will, of course, be foreseen to be put on the devices within the office, to, for instance, back up the data, to block specific services. But this will not be extra equipment. They will be just software clients that will be able to somehow connect and control, in a way, the devices. And of course, from the Palantir framework itself, we foresee TAR, the threat and attestation framework to detect threats, mediate threats. We foresee the security orchestrator to automate everything, and of course Portal with the dashboard, which will be able not only to report on the data, but also enable SMEs together with, let's say, Palantir operators to design policies and remediation actions that actually fit the SME specifics and their expectations. So this testbed is already operational. We are just starting to deploy specific services to evaluate and validate the Palantir platform. Now, as my final slide, why Palantir for SMEs? So first of all, of course, Cloud SecaaS deployment, which is a hybrid solution where, as I mentioned, core services are on the cloud and minimal additional services such as clients are actually installed at the premises. This means no extra cost in terms of hardware equipment. It's again low power, low cost, low complexity. Again, it's easily replicated since we are talking about software more or less and services. And then what we also offer is something unique to existing solutions. It's personalized responses. So in case of the attack and detected threats, ecosystem can apply a policy that SME owners design. So it's not necessarily always the same for everyone, but we try within, of course, the service capacities to personalize it, to allow, for instance, either just to do the backup of the data or completely block off the service. So these are the simple options, and there are multiple options, and we are starting to investigate them in a collaboration with SMEs that we work with. So this is a short, brief outline of use case 2.
To the final use case presented by Themis and Agnostopoulos. It's the live intelligence sharing in a large-scale edge scenario.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Okay, hello everyone, my name is Themis Athanasio. I represent NCSRD and I will present the use case 3, which includes the live threat sharing, intelligence sharing in a large scale edge scenario. Thank you, George. First, an overview of the use case. Use case 3 involves two large-scale 5G-ready testbeds that support edge network deployments. These two testbeds are
Themis, we lost you. We can't hear you. Can you hear us? No, we can't hear you, Themis. I don't know, feels like a mic issue, unexpected mic issue or something like that. We can exploit this 1 or 2 minutes to discuss any questions that you may have up to this point and see if Themis can reach back to us again and see how it goes. Are there any questions so far?
Vangelis, if I may ask something, it's Socrates speaking.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Let me just switch on my camera, see you everywhere. So yeah, hi, Socrates here. We met before at the review, I guess. Good to see the progress. I think I have a comment which relates a little bit to the previous question on use case 1. And I would follow it a little bit on with the use case 2. And I want to refer to the diagram, which may have caused a little bit of confusion earlier to the previous speaker. Was the use case 1 diagram a logical diagram about the practice, the medical practice? Exactly that one. This one suggests that the dashboard is actually on the internet side, and it is sharing data that is probably private and crucial to the practice. At least that's the impression I'm getting from what I'm seeing, unless I have misunderstood, which I think links to the question I heard from the other person previously, Kostas, I think.
Okay, let me elaborate a little bit on this, because maybe this diagram does not do justice to and probably creates some confusion. So it's not that everything that runs and handles user data is located and executed on the Palantir box. No data from the medical office is actually, let's say, transferred out of the medical practitioners network. Okay, I don't know if that's, but other interactions with the Palantir platform, say interaction for running the risk assessment, or maybe ordering a new type of service, or maybe notifying against the status of some services running on the box itself, can occur through the Palantir platform that runs on the cloud through the dashboard, the remote dashboard. So there's no processing of whatsoever of private data outside of the network of the medical practitioner. I don't know if that addresses
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, that's clear enough.
Okay.
Maybe you would need to add something, maybe a legend or some notes on the diagram. It does give the wrong message, probably the way it is. Maybe that is a confusion of the previous question as well from the other user. The other thing I was going to ask you is the same diagram points with a notify arrow back to the user. Do you really do that to the end user or to some sort of admin?
No, to the end. Okay, so here is
Who's the
thing.
end user exactly? Yeah.
The end user in this scenario is usually, I don't know, a doctor. So the doctor doesn't know that many things, but maybe he would like to know that there was an attack that we stopped, and that's the information that he has to get, and nothing more to confuse him or to start, I don't know, shutting down computers, stuff like that. Just to notify them that there was an attack. It's similar to all those emails that come from usual, spam filters or stuff that notify you on an occurrence of an event.
That's all. Yeah. And I think the use case 2 diagram has a little bit more detail when I see one next to the other. So I wonder if, yeah, I guess it is more complicated. So as a higher level use case diagram architecture, I guess one could live with a simpler one, and then delving into the technicalities of each. Maybe you could explain it with this one, but I will shut up here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Socrates, I see Themis is back, but we also have a question from Otmar. So I think let's listen to Otmar's question and proceed then with Themis' presentation.
Sure. Okay, thank you. I'm from the Austrian National Research, so I've been invited to this presentation to have some feedback from the outside. Few points from my side. Last week we had this nice 0 day in Microsoft Exchange. How exactly would this be handled by this project? This is over HTTPS, so network sensors will probably not find it. Remediation, what are the remediation scripts for that? We don't know what exploitation will be, what the threat actors will actually do on the exploited box. So how will you come up with a automated remediation proposal, how to deal with an intrusion on that? Next thing is, for our case, is how would that system be able to detect current red teaming tools like Covert Strike or Brute Ratel that are now being used by threat actors? How is this architecture supposed to find those intrusions? Thank you.
Since the question refers more to the security capabilities, maybe our colleagues from the relevant work packages could take this question.
Maybe an easier question. A lot of things I heard here is that there will be some automated whatever response detection. How much manpower do you foresee in the back end of all this? Will there be a threat intelligence team of people providing all this patterns or remediation playbooks? Or will this be a machine learning thingy, and how would that gonna work? Because right now, what I see in terms of real world operating SOCs, there's a lot of manual work involved there, and they are far away from having a fully automatic system.
Actually, that's a very nice question that probably, to my knowledge, while following the project, we have not discussed that much. I mean, what is the manpower? And for sure, would be a thing that we should elaborate on. Most of the tools that we foresee in these scenarios are, somehow tailored also to the attacks that are anticipated. Also, the responses to those attacks are more or less, a bit narrowed down and not in that great spectrum that you are mentioning. So those are, I think, and maybe I'm speaking a little bit more, personally here, are things that for a full-blown system to operate needs to be refined a lot. After, I mean, I'm not sure that all the spectrum of the new attacks is very easy to be handled by the system at the first stages.
Let's continue with the presentation.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, perfect. Apologies for the interruption. I think I had a malfunction of my microphone and I connected again through my mobile phone. Okay, I'll try to be as quick as possible. Regarding the use case 3, as I was telling, this use case involves two 5G ready test beds that support edge network deployments, and they are located at the NCSRD and TID premises. These two testbeds allow multiple clients to connect to the edge domain of the network and generate realistic network traffic. In addition to the 5G clients, we have some malicious users and cyber criminals that are also connected to the 5G network and perform some cybersecurity attacks. These attacks include some denial of service attacks that aim to disrupt the ISP services, ransomware attacks that aim to encrypt and block critical service data of the ISP, and finally some crypto mining malwares that are installed on the ISP infrastructure and aim to absorb the available computing resources for crypto mining purposes. Next slide, please. George, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So this picture depicts the topology of the infrastructure involved in the use case 3 and the two 5G testbeds. On the top side of the diagram, we have the 5G testbed located at the NCSRD premises. The left side square represents the edge domain of the testbed, where the 5G services and components, physical components, are instantiated, along with the proper Palantir components, tools, and security capabilities. So the edge domain is connected to the core side of the testbed via an SD-WAN. On the bottom side of the diagram, you can see the TID testbed with all the deployed 5G services, the 5G RAN emulator, and the Palantir SecaaS services being deployed there. The two testbeds are logically connected by utilizing the live threat intelligence sharing feature of the Palantir SecaaS. Next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So as we saw in the diagram, this use case 3, adopts the edge SecaaS deployment following the MEC architecture paradigm. So in this scenario, all the Palantir components, services, tools, and security capabilities are instantiated on the network edge domain, where they are closer to the users, the actual users of the 5G network. This allows the Palantir SecaaS to provide protection to multiple tenants that are located and run their services on the edge side of the network in a faster and more efficient manner. So the requirements for this use case from the live threat intelligence sharing feature is to be able to detect the threats and the attacks that we discussed in the previous slide and that are addressed to the 5G clients. When detect these attacks, it should be able to publish all the incidents to the knowledge sharing platform that's employed by the Palantir SecaaS. On the other testbed, the SecaaS must be able to retrieve all the relevant identified threat information in order to produce an appropriate mitigation plan. And as a final step, the SecaaS must distribute the applied high-level mitigation policies to other SecaaS clients. Okay, that's all from my side about use case 3. I don't know if we have any additional questions.
Thank you, Themis. Let me jump in and let's move directly to the final presentation in order to have a full picture. Thank you so much. Let's move with the final presentation showcase of the platform with Stelios from Ubitech, Stelios Astatalidis. If you are ready.
Hello.
Yeah.
Wait a minute for me to share my screen first. Okay. So this is Stelios Astatalidis from Ubitech. We'll be going through the functionality of the Palantir Portal. The functionalities that we're going to focus on are mostly related to the SMEs. We're going to go through quickly through the some additional functionalities as we move on, and a quick preview of some of the views that we have already created. So let's continue. First of all, the Palantir Portal essentially is going to be the entry point into the whole platform. It's a web application that will consolidate the entire set of functionalities from different Palantir components. We have also come down to a few different roles for the users of the Palantir platform, mainly 3. You will see them moving on. The core features are the ability to view in real time both automatic actions the Palantir platform does on the network, as well as threats and incidents that happen. The ability to view reports on said threats and incidents, see financial aspects, the ability to set a few parameters that will change how the Palantir platform acts on different scenarios, and policy, and in general policies for this overall behavior. And finally, cyber threat intelligence sharing is another thing we are looking into as we speak. In general, the functionality is grouped in different views within the dashboard. The threats dashboard is the main landing page for the users of an SME, where we have a complete overview and status of the platform as well as the network. We can see different results from a few analytics, as well as the biggest threats, if they exist, and some overall reports. For more detailed reports, we can go to the security incident reports, where we have the list of past incidents, and there can also be some either views of the different incidents, and maybe some actions. That's something that we have slated for development in the future. The financial status and management, where we can see where SME users can see the overall costs of their Palantir subscription. Bear in mind that each subscription is different, and there can also be different security capabilities that are employed for an SME, and as such, we can see an entirely different behavior and entirely different results. There is the threat sharing part, which we are working on. We are trying to make this by integrating with the MISP software and facilitate the easy and automated communication of both past incidents that may have happened outside the Palantir ecosystem or within the Palantir ecosystem in different cases, different deployments, and in general CTI data via several mechanisms like matching and associations. And there is also, last but not least, for this block, the risk assessment wizard. This particular part starts by being a relatively simple and understandable questionnaire that helps the platform automatically identify best services as well as best actions and best deployment for the Palantir platform. Some parts of that whole procedure are guided based on the overall risk assessment wizard. Now, switching gears, we are seeing the side of the developers who can be acting fairly independently in order to extend the Palantir platform with new security capabilities. The security capability developers can register new packages we call security capabilities by defining the software as in terms of how it operates as a network function, the billing aspects, the privacy aspects, and the ability to either monitor or avert threats. And of course, there is a complete dashboard for the security developer in order to view new opportunities or new requirements based on the CTI we mentioned earlier, cyber threat intelligence, in order to either extend their already created security capabilities or to create new ones in order to avert said threats, as well as the status of the security capabilities existing in the platform that are authored by them, as well as their complete earnings. Once these capabilities are within the Palantir platform, the SME managers and the network operators of the Palantir subscriber of the Palantir platform can then search through the security capabilities through the marketplace. The marketplace enables them to subscribe to certain security capabilities that are not part of the main deployment of the Palantir platform, based on the requirements of their network, as well as the financial status. They can also manage certain aspects of the security capabilities. Of course, this part is mostly oriented towards the network operator, who is given access by the SME manager to make the necessary adjustments, while the SME manager should only see an overall status, as they are not technically oriented. Now, for a quick overview, or maybe I should say preview of the Palantir platform, this is the overall look and feel. As I said, there are three types. There are different types of users. The main three users here are the network operator and the SME manager. These two are part of subscriber organizations. The security capability developers are enabled by the platform administrators themselves to come in and extend the Palantir platform. These are the different functionalities that I laid out as the user can see. Network operator, SME manager, and SC developer each has a different set of functionalities. Each is a page of itself. And here we can see an example of an SME manager in the landing page, the threat dashboard. And this is a generic view of past incidents, threat findings, and the overall status of the platform. We can see financial aspects from their side, like subscribed offers, the result of that, the billing events for that, past invoices they have made. And while they're browsing that, some even actions that have happened that the Palantir platform has done automatically can be shown to them, as well as the network operator, of course, who can view even more actions, more details on that. And as you can see, each notification can be seen as it has happened during their session. Now, for the network operator, who is a user enabled by the SME manager, they can view the security incident reports in more detail. You can see here there is an incident incoming where the syslog component has found a threat. Once again, we can see that they can view the related notification, and they can inspect for much more detail. Note that each type of threat, both on the nature of the threat and the means by which it was found, will view different results. Overall, the idea here is to consolidate the entire Palantir functionality in one package. As the project goes towards its end and integration is moving forward, the different views are being finalized. What you saw was a sample of the most finalized, let's say, views. And the whole Palantir Portal adds value mainly in the real-time monitoring, setting up simple settings for more complex security-related background tasks, something that you will see later, heavily leveraging the platform's automation and the cyber threat intelligence sharing, which is also another thing we are currently working on. So thank you. That was it from our side.
So this concludes our presentations. The goal was to give a general feel of what's going on in Palantir and what the vision for the end product is, and also showcase the status of where we are at the moment. We are a little bit late, but I think we can take some time to answer some more questions, if any. One question in the chat is related to the live threat intelligence tool. The question is this devised to provide services to any SME in any country in Europe? If that's so, how powerful is your tool in terms of feeds? And do we have contracts with several feeds providers? For the first part of the question related to the services and the regionality, let's say, of the business perspective. I can answer it from a business perspective. This part is that our intention is to have a product that is at least applicable and can be utilized in Europe. And of course, the goal would be something global. Whenever you have something that is as a service, the goal to go in that type of services is to be able to easily deploy and provide at least some portion of your services in an easy manner. So from a business perspective, the answer would be a definite yes. In terms of feeds, we would have to get some feedback from the technical partners related to the threat intelligence tool.
Okay, I understand that this question is relating to the threat sharing feature. So what we can say is that our vision is to have both the SMEs that can across Europe that can generate, if they want, that threat intelligence, but also be a recipient of it. So we want to have this distributed. As per specific source for threat intelligence, this is an ongoing action item. We are currently engaging CISART on CERT to have that kind of a specialized and reliant source for cyber threat intelligence. This is a current action point. We will discuss. We will present our result on this front as soon as we have better results to present on this.
Thank you, Maxime. I hope we covered the question. We have a raised hand from Otmar. Please go ahead.
Yes, I mean, the space of protecting SMEs and others is not a new one. A lot of commercial operators trying to sell products in that space, try to sell their CMs, their firewalls, their endpoint protection, and cloud-based whatever solution. Where exactly do you think that your €5 million budget will create something that hasn't been created yet by the commercial operators? What's your real new idea? What's your special ingredient? What's the angle why you think that you will achieve something that the commercial side hasn't done before?
Any technical approach on this question?
If I may answer this question from my perspective, the interesting thing with Palantir is its capability to merge both a signature-based approach for securing the clients from attacks, but including the artificial intelligence approach that is yet not deployed as far as we know from the, let's say, competitors. So this is the basic characteristic that makes the Palantir solution different. And something that is extremely important is it is the modularity of this tool that can be applied to any customer needs. That is the two pillars I suggest, and I hope that your question is answered.
Yes, I think I know how to rate this project. Thank you.
Any other questions? Or maybe even suggestions or notes, anything, any type of information that you would like to relay towards us.
I may have one comment or suggestion as you take it. I'd like to take it, Vangelis and others. Have you thought about compliance and how the various boxes or clients or Palantir solutions fit in existing ISO 27001 certified environments? Thinking, for example, in use case 1, you could have an already certified ISO 27001 practice or any other, doesn't have to be the ISO one specifically. And therefore, by fitting into your solution, you're probably violating some of the certification requirements. And therefore, you would need to possibly account that when you're trying to sell the product or the solution. Have you thought about this at all, or is this in the pipeline? Does the question make sense?
Honestly, from my perspective, I do not entirely understand, to be honest. So I would need the help from my colleagues here.
I could explain further if it helps. It's a pretty standard certification process for many environments, particularly in the health settings. It's a very rigorous process. It has a few phases. So you get basically certified for the information system you're running, whether it is secure and what level of security you're offering and so on. By having your solution injected into that environment, your solution should comply as well to parts of the ISO standard or any other standard, a certification standard. Have you thought about compliance in your solution yet? Is it too early? I mean, at some point you would need to discuss impact and how the solution would add value. But then for me to buy it in a small practice or in a bigger hospital, taking one use case, for example, I would need to know if it is compliant enough to fit it into my environment.
Okay. Yes, I understand now. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Can I take this question? Well, I do think that eventually, if you want to plan to be able to sell the Palantir project, you will need to do that. But I think that the correct answer, it's not yet. I mean, at this point, we're still creating the solution, and maybe we can find some hints in regarding compliance in the ISO 27001. But I think it needs a lot of elaboration from our side to be able to. I mean, the standard for security is too elaborate, and and at many points you need to take into account also the specific activity of the SME. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. So I guess with respect to maybe the Palantir box, that happens to be something that we create for a customer. Maybe for that we can narrow it down and just by the end of the project assume that we can propose some let's say compliance towards the ISO. But for the whole solution, I think it's quite improbable to manage it with the time that we have and also the readiness that we have.
And also, if I may add, now that we are here, we are currently putting much more effort on the alignment with technical standards, deployment and development level, let's say. But indeed, that's a fair and quite logical suggestion, because commercial products, they not only align to some of these standards, but also to some best practices, and they have kind of checklists to go through and to enforce that everything is deployed and configured the proper way also. So this is something on the roadmap if you want to exploit this commercially, indeed.
Thank you both. Yeah, things to consider, I guess, as you go forward. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. Any other questions? I think we have covered everything from the chat. Yes, that is correct. We are already 15 minutes past our timeline. So if there are no more questions, I would like to share a very brief questionnaire to provide some feedback on what was presented today. Please, if you have the time, go ahead. It's only, it's a very small one, it's only 5 questions. And if there are no more questions, then I would like to thank you all very much for attending this meeting. It was important also for the questions and remarks that you had. We are going to look back into all the comments and everything that was discussed in order to, if possible, better and ameliorate our efforts. And also, we're going to have another meeting like this after approximately 10 months or something like that. And we are hopeful that you will visit and attend another of our meetings then to check on our progress and see how everything is going. So that would be all. Thank you very much for attending and have a nice day.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.